Hi, everyone. We're back. And we have these new kind of technical hours, or 40 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever we have, to talk a little bit about. We talked about Keynote for a couple weeks, and then now we're on our second week of talking about Google Slides. And Emily Russo is a Google Slide, ninja. We were talking about Samurai before this show started. And so we're going to hand it off to Emily to show us some tips and tricks. Go ahead and take it away, Emily.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so last week we covered quite a few things having to do with how you can use and make slides interactive. And I'm just going to share my screen. This week, I'm going to show you a couple of the more specific things that you can do to zhuzh up and make your Google Slides that much more interesting and or interactive. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today was using Google Slides as a graphic design tool. So as an educator, sometimes when you are given a software, for instance, Google Slides, or you can only work in the Google universe. A lot of the complaints I got from teachers that went from, say, a Microsoft to a Google was, well, what do I do? There's no publisher. You can use Google Slides as a publisher. It allows itself to be used as a graphic design tool because you can go into the file option, go to page setup, and there's an option to make a custom size screen. So if you wanted to print out a brochure, which, by the way, I'm just going to put a little side note here. As an educator, I don't recommend the brochure as a learning activity, but if you are stuck with it, you want the brochure, you want a trifold, you're like, I can't make a trifold. You can make a trifold right here in Google Slides. So all you would do is select custom page size and then change it to the same size as a sheet of paper. So 11 by 8.5 inches. And that will give you the page layout. Then you can take out the text boxes. You can duplicate this sheet. So you'll have two of them, a front and a back. And then you can just go in and add what you want to add. So if you are, and you have the rulers along the top and along the side, so you're able to cut it into thirds and make it. But then you can insert images. So let me just go to the web, and I'm going to use Penguin because it's usually safe. You can grab your little penguin, drag him into your brochure, put him where you need to put him, and then add text boxes, and anything else that you want to put in your brochure. So the idea here is that you can format the background, so you can change your background to any image you want. So if I wanted to make my travel brochure about going to visit penguins, I can do upload an image, or I can look for an iceberg. And I can add that image. It could be an actual picture, or I can, all of these are usually ready to be used. And I'm just going to pick this green one just because it's fun. And hit done. So now I have this iceberg. Now, in this situation, I wouldn't be turning this into a trifold because it would, be in the center. But the idea here is that I can now take my little guy, and I probably want to find a transparent one. I would use something like Remove BG is a great resource to remove the background so that I could get a transparent penguin, or I could keep searching for a transparent penguin. So I can go to Insert Image, go to Search Web, and type in transparent, or PNG usually will get you the same thing too. And let's try this guy. Maybe he'll work. There we go. Now we have a transparent penguin. So now I can resize him and put him on the iceberg, get rid of this guy. And now my kids can create, if they're creating a sales brochure, if they're creating a trifold, if they want to create a report to post on the wall, you can do that. So you can use this as a canvas and then print out the print. It allows you to print it out. So I guess that is what I'm trying to get at here. You can also, oops, sorry. Use this, I'm just going to go to the second screen here. You can do a background image. So I'm going to take a color and I can go do a gradient color. So I'm just going to use this one, hit done. And now I can add elements here. So I can layer things, create frames. So if I wanted to make a background, I'm going to make this stand out. It'll be orange and the line is going to be blue, and I can make my line bigger. These are things you can do to get all those graphic ideas on. So if I want frames for a newsletter, for instance, that's another thing that I got asked for a lot. You could do that with a shape, and you can format the object to have a drop shadow, which gives it that kind of 3D feel. And you can even increase that distance of the shadow or the blur so that it fades in or fades out a little more, makes it look like it's popping off the page. You can also do that with images themselves. So again, I'm just going to go grab a quick image from the internet. And this time I'm going to pick book. And I'm going to insert the picture of the books, the book stack. And if I wanted, I can crop this into a shape. So this actually might not be a good option to pick, but see how my item is selected right now? It's in the blue rectangle. If you go over to the crop and you drop down, there is the ability to put the crop into a shape. So if I wanted this to be sidewaysy-ish, let me see if I can. I should have grabbed a different image, to be honest, like a photo. But we'll do it like that. So for whatever reason, I wanted this to fit. I'm going to get a different image. It's not showing you what I want you to show you. So let's go to insert, image, search the web. Let me grab one that has a lot of stuff. All right. There we go. That one. I'm going to grab that one. Insert. Also, you can select multiple images and have them come in. But let's say I wanted this shape or this image to be in a circle. If I go to that drop down, I can go to shapes and I can select circle. It'll make it into a oval because it was rectangular shaped. But you can also choose fancy shapes like that kind of sideways one. And anywhere you see these little yellow dots, you're able to increase or decrease the crop or the rotation. So like if it had a curved edge or something along those lines. So if I wanted to go this way and make it kind of diamond shaped, I could do that. I can also add a frame to this. So if I want my shape to now have a frame, I can add a line and I can choose to make that line any size I want and any color I want. So I'll just make it yellow so it stands out. And you'll see that there's an order rotation or an order here. So with the objects, whatever you added last is going to be on the top layer. But if you right click, there is the option to change the order. So you can bring it to the front, you can send it backward or send it all the way to the back. So if I send it all the way back, the orange will cover it up. So these are tools that you can use not only for graphic design, but for gamification in the classroom. So if you wanted to cover up something and you wanted to have your answer on the back, you can create another shape to cover it up. So once you have your printout, your something that you want to print and you want to save it to print it, you can print it straight from Google Slides. If you wanted to share it, you can also download it as a plain document, a PDF document, and then print the PDF document and use it that way. So I am going to
Emily, if I could jump in real quick, because you're looking at the shapes. There is a question from John Snyder asking, I assume Google Slides can save styles to apply to multiple shapes and items. Do you know how?
Oh, I'm not sure I understand the question in the sense of, so you can save styles. You can create your own theme and keep it that way. I'm trying to think about shapes. I know, okay, so this is what I do. I'll just explain really quickly what I do. If I'm going to make the same thing, like let's say I created this layout and I wanted this orange square to cover yellow diamond all the time. I would make a copy of the slide. So I can copy the slide itself and pull it into another. So I'm just going to copy the slide, go over to another slide deck. And actually, I don't even have to add a slide. I can just paste it and it will come in and it will keep the formatting. Now it's squished because I changed the other slides, but in this one, it says match the style of this presentation or keep original style. If I say keep original style, it will unsquish what it can unsquish, for lack of a better term. All right. That's about as far into that question as I think I can answer without more information. As far as saving the shapes and stuff, you can copy things from one presentation to another. The other thing that you can do, and I talked about it last week, is duplicate very quickly. So Command D is duplicate on a Mac, and Control D works the same way. But if you just hit that Command D on the selected item, you can make multiples of that item really quickly, and then you can gather them together by selecting them all at once. And then I showed you the align that item last time. So I just, whoops. Sorry, my Zoom thing is in the way there. There we go. All right, so align vertically to the top. So now it just makes a pile of those shapes, and I can move those piles out as I need them. I can also copy that pile and bring it into another presentation that I've made. So if there's elements that I use a lot, like I think I talked about it last week, if there's like an alphabet that I'm going to use and the kids are going to manipulate the alphabet, I will create that on a slide and keep that slide as a template. And then I will copy them and pull them into another presentation. All right, so let's get to the next thing. So that's the graphic design tool. So you can manipulate these. One of the other things that I like to do, by the way, is I'm just going to add another slide real quick and change it to a blank layout, is you can make your own personalized Post-it notes. So I used to make Post-it notes for fun. And if you take a piece of the paper here, you put a square on it. So you just take a slide that is the same shape and size as what will print out of your printer. You can come in and you can select your object, go to format, change the size. So I'm going to do 3 inches by 3 inches because that's what a standard Post-it note is. And I can hit Command duplicate a bunch of times and move them out on the piece of paper. And I do these really in light gray, and then I'll put what I want to print on the Post-it note on the square. So for instance, I used to, for fun, take the Bitmoji, which I don't think I have access to on this account. But I might stick like a text box on here, and I'll put from the desk of Emily. Whoops. Can't even spell my own name. There we go, from. And then I can change this font to something fun. Just randomly select something here. And I can add an image. And then what you do is you take the piece of paper, you print this out once, and then you take the piece of paper and put sticky notes on all the boxes. And then you put it through the printer again, and it comes out with all of the things that you printed. So some teachers really liked that hack for making personalized sticky notes. It's not cost effective, but it's fun.
Where is the alignment tool if you wanted to?
So when you move things around on the screen, it automatically creates the alignment. So if you're looking at it right now, you'll see the blue lines are showing me if they're, the boxes, the shapes are in line to themselves, but then the red lines show up to show you multiple alignments. Does that answer your question, Sky?
Yes. And well, I'm also familiar with, if you highlight all 3 of them, you can, is that the word arrangement? Is that tool? Yeah.
So if you right click, you can align.
That's the word. That nailed it. Thank you. Right click.
No worries. And they do have a center one. So it'll align them to the center vertically and horizontally if you select them. The distribute, for some reason, when I use it, it doesn't distribute the way that I would. Oh, because wait, hold on, because they're still all selected. So if I select this and then I say distribute, they should move out horizontally, but it doesn't work for some reason. I'm not using it correctly somehow. But there was like, I've used the distribute before to like spread out my alphabet letters, and it works, but they'll still be overlapping. So I don't like the distribute. I end up just moving them myself.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so that's the graphic design tool and the way you can use it to make specialized Post-it notes. Another way that I like to use it in the classroom was, especially, I used this actually before COVID with students. This is how you can have an asynchronous discussion with your students, and you can do this in 3 different ways. So you can do it as text back and forth. You can do it as audio recordings back and forth, or you can do it as video embedded back and forth. So I just wanted to say that before I started, because in this one, we all read Americana by Adichie, and we were going to have a discussion about it. So as the teacher, I created the slide that had the instructions, and the colors of this slide, by the way, I messed around with them to make a point, and I didn't revert them. And so I would not recommend using these colors, color combination, but it was, I forgot to fix it. But anywho, the instructions are here for the students about how to do what I want them to do. So in this one, they had to make a video response. The neat thing about Google Slides is that you can embed audio. So I don't have the audio file here, but I can create one really quickly. So you can make an audio file and embed it on a Google slide behind any image you want. So in this case, it's a circle with a speaker on it, but it could be a button or it could be an icon. And the students could know that if they press on it, they'll be able to hear the instructions read to them. So to put in an audio option, I personally use 123 apps just because it's free and it exists. 123 apps has a bunch of basic tools for editing. Their PDF tools are great. If you need to chop up a PDF or merge a PDF, it's really, really useful. But they also have this audio tool in here. So you can just click on the voice recorder and record a short snippet. So I'm just going to say, allow. Actually, I wonder if this is going to work because I'm using Zoom. Oh yeah, it looks like it's gathered in there. All right, so I would read the directions aloud to the student. So there would be this audio file that they could listen to me reading the instructions to them. I hit stop. I can trim it in here in 123 apps. And then I can hit save. Very basic editing. You can't go in and take out all the ums and ahs, but you could. You just have to make multiple copies of it, and it gets cumbersome. So anyway, it created that file. It saved it to my computer, and now I can go into my Google slide, and I can right-click and delete this one because it's no longer attached, and hit insert audio. So under insert, there's an audio option. And you can see here, I have some sound effects that I have saved. Oh, I have to put it in my Google Drive. Hold on just 1 second. So there is a step. So I downloaded it, and now I have to put it into my drive. So I'm going to take this recording and I'm just going to put it into my drive. And then before I do anything else with it, I want to make sure that I'm sharing it. So this is something I forgot last week, and I shared a file with you all in the chat, and it didn't, you had to request access, and it was because I forgot to change the permission on the file. So I'm going to right click on the file. I'm going to hit share, and I'm going to change the link to anyone with the link can view. Anyone with the link can view, copy link. Actually, I don't need to copy the link for this. So I'm going to hit done. Now I'm going to go back to my presentation. So in my presentation, I'm going to go back to insert. I'm going to hit audio. And now you'll see that that recording is in here. So those are the instructions. I'm going to hit select. And this little button over here in the bottom left corner shows up. So I'm going to move this little guy up here, And I'm going to make him bigger so my students can see him. I usually add a drop shadow just so it looks like it's sitting off the page for them. You can change the color, but I also like that you can come in here and you can replace the image. So if I don't want that little speaker button, maybe I want a headset, I'm going to go search the web and I'm going to look for a headset. And let's just, these guys look all right. I'm going to select this image and it replaced it, and it's a little square now with headphones that my students are going to recognize and they're going to listen to. But I can also use that cropping tool I showed you before, so I can make it a circle. And now this is embedded in the slide. So when the students come in, they can push the play button. All right, so I would read the directions aloud to the students. So there would be this audio. And now my slides have the audio recording of the directions built into the slide deck. So I would have read the instructions on this page into the 1, 2, 3 recordings and then saved that audio file and put it in here so that my students that need directions read aloud, or if I'm working with kids who aren't fluent in reading yet, they can access and know what they need to do. So this discussion slide was set up so that each week I would add a new question and the students would respond. So the first discussion question had to do with storytelling, and then the students would embed their video and put their name on it. So they would put their name in and then they would insert a video. So using 1, 2, 3 apps, I'm going to go back to that page. You'll see that there is also a video recorder tool. I used that most of the time with the kids because it was just easy to use. If they had a Chromebook, they could record a little video and embed it. They just had to save it to their Google Drive. I'm just going to insert a video that I have. So here we would have the kids put student name. And then I usually had them put response question number, just because sometimes kids would add a slide to the project and things might get moved around just because someone dragged and dropped something in the wrong place. So I'm just going to change this to white really quickly. There we go. And then they would go to insert and video. And they can upload a YouTube video. So if they save something to YouTube, or if you're asking for them to find a demonstration that taught them a skill on YouTube, they would be able to pull it in. They can also move a YouTube video by URL over here. But if you go to your Google Drive, anything that you've saved to your Google Drive can be uploaded as a video to your response slide. So this is how the kids would respond. They'd record themselves and then they'd add it. One of the nice features also that pops up, and you can see in this format box here, is that you can choose where you want that video to start and stop. So if I made this like 3 seconds in and I want to start 10 seconds, and I can mute the audio. Obviously, if they're responding to a discussion question, that would be not useful, but you can do it that way. It can play on a click or play automatically. And I'm just gonna push so you can see, I was playing around with the stop animation app. They can embed their response right in, so they can have that back and forth. So they can, what I would have students do is upload a video response of them answering the question. And then other students would come in and do a response to the initial response as an audio file. So then they would just embed like I did here with the headset. On this page, they would just drop in a file. So that was another way to use the slides as something that grew with the kids. So once you share the file, they will continue to see the updates in real time. So every time someone adds a response, it doesn't notify them that a response has been made, but once they go in, they'll be able to see all of the additional information that's been added and watch the videos and respond to those videos. Just check in. Erin, do we have any more questions? I'm sorry, I don't have my screen up.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
We have 2 questions here from Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What are the best ways to link other Google documents into Google Slides? Will Google Slides dynamically update when edits are made to contributing Google documents?
All right, so I'll answer the second question first. Yes, dynamically they will update. So you don't have to refresh, you don't have to do anything. If I have something linked in my Google slide, let's say it's a Google Doc or a Google form, and that has been changed, it automatically is the newest version. So as long as the URL hasn't changed, it will automatically be the newest version of that document. So to answer your second question, yes, you can link. Let me see if I have one that's good in here real quick. That one is not that great. No, I don't have one that I can pull up really quickly. But basically, if I took this Google form, let me see if I can grab a form that's mine. Filter, type. There we go. Google Forms, owner me, search. I love the Google search, by the way. Once you figure it out, it's like the best thing ever. Oh no, wait, I don't have one from me. Okay, so I don't have one in here currently that's mine, but I'll just take this one. So here's a copy of someone else's form. If I come in and I take the share option for this, so let me see, send, get the link, and I copy this link, and I go back to my Google discussions, and I'm just going to put it on response right here. So I'm going to highlight Control K or Command K brings up your links, and I'm going to hit V and hit apply. Of course, it made it into a font we can't see, our color we can't see. Just change that really quickly. Make it yellow. All right. So now if the student comes in, you'll see it's linked. And if I close that and I click this, it will open up that Google Forms. So anytime I update that Google form, when they click on the link, it'll be the newest one. So that's one of the reasons I really liked Google for connecting with students inside and outside. My school district, as students being teachers, was that I could, if I updated my notebook. So for instance, here I was going to show this in a minute. This is a notebook that I would hand out to my people who attended my PD, and they're able to click on any of the pages, the links, and go to that site. And if I changed anything on this, it automatically updated for them. So if Google changed the way that they did something, I could just go in and change the notebook, and teachers who took my course last year would have the newest version. All right, next question then. I think you said Ed too, right?
Yeah, actually, we have a couple more. Oh. So we have one from John Snyder in Reno, Nevada. When attaching an audio file, oh, my mistake.
Oh, no, it says when attaching an audio file, does the file get embedded in the slide deck itself, or is it saved elsewhere and just referenced on the deck? It is saved to your Google Drive, and that is... it has to be linked to your Google Drive. So if I deleted that audio file from my Google Drive, the button would no longer work, which is why you saw that message when I first opened the file that said audio file doesn't exist. It doesn't stay inside the Google slide. So you have to have it connected through your Google Drive. I think that, let me see. Yeah, that was all of it was for that one. You said there was another question?
Yes, we have one from Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Is it possible to use the animation elements in Google Slides to create a timer as it is done in PowerPoint?
To create a timer. All right, so the long short answer, and I actually have to go to my folder here. Oh, not that one. Hold on just a second. There is animations you can create using Google Slides. You can embed a timer from YouTube if you're looking for a timer for students. Like I've done that before where the students have like 5 minutes to work on something and I'll just embed the timer right on the Google slide. Sorry, I'm just looking really quickly I should type notebook and save myself some hassle here. This one, I think it's in this one. There's a section on animations. And it's not this one. Sorry, guys. Maybe it's this one. Animated. Okay. So I haven't done the animations in a while, so I wanted to make sure. So animations in Google Slides, you can create an animation using multiple slides. Like if I wanted to move a shape from one place to another, like to do the cycles of the moon or something like that, I can create it. It's a lot of slides, and then you can play the slides. Like there's this really cool tool inside Google Slides. If you go to File and you go to Publish to the Web, you can actually have it auto advance. So if you wanted like an animation to embed on your website of the cycles of the moon, you could create that animation in Google Slides and then come over to Publish to the Web and make it basically like into a widget. So you would start it, have it restart itself automatically, choose the size, how fast you would want the slides to advance, and then you can publish it and you'll get a URL that lets you embed it. So there's the URL and the iframe, and then you can embed it on a website or give a link to someone else. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but John said, what techniques do you use in PowerPoint for building timers? Yeah, that was what I would want to know. What do you mean by as it's done in PowerPoint? The other option you have is that insert video, and I can go to YouTube and type like 30-second second timer. And there's all sorts of timers, some with sound, some with animations. The kids always like the bomb one, although administrators don't really care for it anymore. But you could have this one come in, start playing as soon as the slide starts. And then when it goes to present mode, which I don't want to go into total present mode here, so I'm just going to use our URL sheets that we talked about last week. And then not that one, this one. There we go. It just does the 30-second timer, and then the kids can be working on the slide or off the slide while the timer goes off. So I'm not sure if that answers the question exactly, but I think I might need more information about specifically what he's looking for.
So I saw you type in the word present, and I missed last week's thing.
Oh, yeah.
So why do I not want to use the present mode if we've got time, but we may be over time?
When I'm presenting on I found when I'm presenting on multiple screens, if you hit present on Google Slides, it'll take over your screens. And you won't be able to see, I won't be able to see the chat over here. I won't be able to see my notes over here. So if you change the URL to present, it keeps it in the window. And the other nice thing is that you can switch between your tabs. When you're in present mode, you get the whole screen view. It goes to full screen view, and you lose your tabs and your extensions and everything else. So as a professional development person, a lot of times I will be talking about something, but then I'll want to demonstrate. I keep hitting my mic today. Sorry, guys. I might want to demonstrate or move to a different screen, and using that option, URL option, helps you get to that screen without having to lose access to your tabs. The other thing you can type in is preview, which lets you see what it's going to look like to your audience as you're building it. So this one's interactive. This is the notebook that I built for the teachers, and they could jump, let's say they want to go right to the graphic arts projects. If they click on the tab, it'll take them to graphics arts. And then if they click on the cover, it'll open up and go page by page. of those explanations. If they wanted to jump to tools, same thing. So now they have the ability.
In the command line, you're basically just adjusting the presentation right up to the last backslash. Got it.
Yep, last backslash. And this is, I put this on Discord, but these are all the quick changes that you can do. So template preview lets you see it in preview mode, but puts a little use this template button up in the top right corner, which you can then press and then have it make you a copy. Preview lets you do it this view where you can just see and interact with it. Copy forces the person who's opening the file to make a copy so that they don't mess up your copy. And then present allows you to still access all your other tabs and see multiple windows. So that's just a brief overview of that.
Thank you.
All right. So we did asynchronous discussions. We did embed audio. We did graphic tools. There are more questions, Erin?
There are.
Of course.
The next question is from John Snyder in Reno, Nevada. When attaching an audio file, I think we might have done this one. But
we did do that.
Okay. So let me check on the next one. From John Snyder, can Google Slides be presented when offline, or is an internet connection required?
Okay, so technically it can be offline. You do have to save it to offline. So on file, under file, there is make available offline. Once you do that, you will be able to access it without internet. However, anything that you've embedded that links back to your Google Drive and or your like YouTube or an outside internet source, you won't be able to access. So yes and no, depends. Roscoe?
Yeah, if you actually embed it in your Google Drive and actually click on it and tell the Google Drive to use offline, then you can access it. There's a document I put in that I was reading through. So there is a way to do it, but you have to use Chrome browser and you have to make sure you go into your Google Drive and specifically tell those assets that they do need to be available, stored locally for offline use.
Yeah, so the offline mode for any of the assets and things, so like that audio file, if I come into my Drive and I go to that audio file, I have the option to also make this available offline. So you just have to go in and make everything individually, make sure they're all available offline, and then you should be able to present them. But YouTube won't go, because YouTube, if you don't have an internet connection, it won't play. All right, next one. Next question.
Our next question comes from Tony Mobley in Newton, Georgia. Emily, as a person who has used most presentation applications, is it about use case or ease of use? Slides, PowerPoint, or Keynote? Learn all three or pick just one?
I'm going to say it's use case. So as an educator, a lot of times you're forced to use what the district has bought into. So if they've bought into slides, you use slides. If they've bought into PowerPoint and Microsoft, you got to use that. If they're using Apple, you got to use Apple. If you're doing presentations on the outside, it kind of depends on what it is you're trying to do. So like Keynote, I think visually looks better than the other two. It has a lot more features to make it look really professional and sharp. You also have those embedded video feeds that you can do that you can't do as easily in Google Slides and PowerPoint. Don't want to say anything negative about Microsoft, but the PowerPoint, the nice features about PowerPoint, if you're using PowerPoint, is that there is there's the instruction, the presentation coaches in there. So there's an option you can use to pace yourself to get ready to do a presentation. It will record you, give you feedback. It looks at your slides. There's the slide designer tool, which can make your slides look better sometimes. Depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes I feel it's more of a hindrance and doesn't really make a great presentation. But I'm also an advocate as an educator using the right tool for the right job. So if I want to make an interactive slide deck, I find Google much easier to set up for interactivity and creating like a picture and having kids like click through on different things to take them to different places, a choose your own adventure style, if you will, than say Keynote or PowerPoint. When I do it in those mediums, it takes so many more steps to do what I want to do. If it's about sharing, so if I'm going to go to NiceGate or ISTE and I'm going to do a presentation, I'm going to do it in Google because it's easier to share the file if I'm planning to give out something to the teachers. I just find it's easier to share that Google URL. The people can get their own copy, or they can link to my copy as a viewer. And I don't have to, if it's not like proprietary to me, it's just easier in that sense. So I think it does depend on use case, what you're trying to do and who your audience is and what they're going to do with it. Next question, or any question?
Yes, we have two more.
Okay. Sorry, I should have pulled up the screen.
No worries, no worries. So we have one from Josh Kaufman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Does Google Slides have an integrated slide control sharing? Can you enable slide control over web to someone else by sharing the slide document with someone else?
That's a good question. It's not integrated control sharing. You can have a co-editor, so I can make one person an editor and other people view only. And I'm trying to think of how it would work. There is a extension on Chrome called Remote for Google Slides, and that has a URL attached to it, and you could give that URL to someone else if they have the app on their end, and they could control your slides for you. But I don't believe it's embedded into the Google as it's built right now. So if I'm presenting, you can't control the speed of my slides from afar. Next question.
Yes, we have one more question. Our last one comes from Jeff Dooley in Chicago. Do you pay for 123 apps or just use the free version?
It's free version that I'm using. I don't even know if they have a paid version. Do they have a paid version? Oh yeah, look, they have a login button now. They've recently updated, like in the last 6 months they updated. I only used the free version, and the reason that I used the free version was that almost all of my schools and teachers that I worked with were able to access it. It wasn't blocked by their district, and they say in their user agreement, and this was over a year ago, so double check it since they have made some updates. If you record something, it's only saved while you're recording it, and it's not accessible later. So it met our privacy requirements for using it with students. So once the students built something or recorded something, it got saved locally to their computer. And once they closed the web browser, supposedly, and like I said, double check it, but supposedly it then disappeared and it was no longer accessible or they weren't collecting data on it. And that's why we used it. There are other ones out there that you can use, and there are some, like Chromebook introduced the new, the Chromebooks have built-in video, like you can record a video now and save it, whereas like 2 years ago, you couldn't do that on most Chromebooks. You had to use a third-party software to create a video and save it. You could take photos, but you couldn't take video. Now you can take video and you can save that as a file. You just have to move it to your Google Drive so that then you can embed it in your slides presentation. All right. Any more questions?
Nope. Those were all the questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's good because I kind of had a hard out around 1 o'clock today. So let me stop sharing my screen. And I knew I just had a few other things to add to what I talked about last week. So that wraps us up then.
Thanks, Emily.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Great work. It does a lot more. I mean, I sometimes have been, rough about Google Slides, but just mostly I realize watching you that I just don't know how it works. So it's a lot of good tools.
Yeah. And, you know, as educators, and Aaron can attest to this, like a lot of times they tie your hands behind your back and you just got to figure out how to type with your nose. So if you don't have Keynote, you figure out how to type with your nose. And that's how we learn the tricks and tips and make it do what we want.